The assassination of Franz Ferdinand, while important, was only a tipping point. Militarism, alliances, imperialism, and nationalism boiled over the borders of their countries into others. By preparing for a war and building up armies, everyone else became uneasy and followed. Fear of war led to countries forming alliances, which only pushed war forward. Imperialism brought forth more fear, with the British afraid of Germany in Africa and Austria afraid of Serbia and Russia in the Balkans. Combining that with the fierce love for your homeland, it became a ticking time bomb counting down to war. An act where one goes against another, and a speech that is able to create a state of war between two states. In World War I, the first to declare war was Austria-Hungary on Serbia, followed with Russia preparing for war to defend their ally Serbia. Slowly, other allies of Hungary and Serbia joined until finally almost all European superpowers were involved. Because of Germany's borders, they had to defend attacks from two sides. Combine that along with empty rolling fields with no cover, trench warfare was born. The Western Front was a bloody stalemate. Neither side gained more than 10 miles in 2 years. On the Germany-Russia border, it was even more uneven. Russia had more soldiers, but the country wasn't stable due to the death of Tsar Nicholas. Because of this, many lives were lost on the fronts. A lot of the trenches were used as protection from the bullets and the other country's shooting. All of the trenches came in different sizes, small, large, tall, and short. A lot of the times the trenches were decked out. They consisted of houses, kitchens, and most of the time bathrooms. Even though they may seem nice from hearing about it, most of them were flooded, which led to trench feet. Along with trench feet, you have rats, slugs, and other infected animals in the trenches. Most times, the trenches were foggy and blurry, so when the men went into no man's land, they would shoot the men from their side. Most of the trenches were 100 to 700 feet apart, so most of the men took their chances and ran into no man's land, which the outcome came out to death. One battle strategy was the Schlieffen Plan, named after Alfred von Schlieffen. He was a German army chief that calculated only 90% of his army were needed to attack France. The rest of the army would be used to stop Russian advance in the east. The plan was to attack France first via Belgium, then move through Russia and gain control before Britain joins the war. Most countries use a lot of lethal weapons such as poison gas, tanks, improved machine guns, artillery, submarines or U-boats, grenade launchers, flamethrowers, zeppelins, and planes. These weapons were a huge advantage for most countries. The new technologies led to trench warfare, and the lack of new tactics led to massive slaughter at the hands of the new technology. This was a secret communication from Germany sent to Mexico in January 1917. The telegram proposed that the two countries align, and in return for their help, Germany would help Mexico reconquer parts of the U.S. However, the English were able to intercept the message, decode it, and warn the Americans. This behind-the-back communication obviously angered the United States. This message prompted the U.S. government to break any diplomatic relations with Germany, and eventually President Wilson declared war. The Lusitania sunk in 1915 after Germany attacked it. The ship had at least 1,198 people die out of 1,959, leaving 761 survivors. This led the Germans to temporarily begin their policy of unlimited submarine warfare. With Germany beginning this policy on the heels of the treacherous Zimmermann telegram, the United States grew angry and declared war. During the war, keeping up morale and support was important. The troops grew tired on the front lines, and keeping up their spirits were hard with little to no gains being made. Propaganda was used for just about anything. Enlisting, buying war bonds, rationing. Propaganda posters were also used to justify involvement and influence the public opinion. After the end of World War I, President Wilson wanted many things for the world. He laid these plans out, calling it the 14 Points. Wilson called for the end of secret treaties, freeing the seas and trade, reducing national armies, changing borders, and creating new nations, and more. President Wilson also called for the creation of the League of Nations, a combination of all major world powers to maintain peace, send aid to any countries that need it, and more. The beginning of the end started with Russia. Thrown into unrest because of Tsar Nicholas II, Russia signed a treaty with Germany called the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk. Then, at the Second Battle of Marne, 2 million U.S. troops pushed back German forces. Following this, Bulgaria and the Ottomans surrendered. Finally, France and Germany signed an armistice until the terms of peace could be negotiated. In France, June 28, 1919, the Treaty of Versailles was signed. This treaty created the League of Nations, placed the blame on Germany, and repaid reparations to the Allies. This treaty was highly controversial for the Triple Entente, specifically Germany, but that's a tale for another time.